Thank you very much, and thank you to all of our witnesses. Mr. Dankberg, let me begin with you. As you know, I'm from a rural state, and many members of this committee are from rural states, and we are very much interested in bridging the digital broadband divide in those areas. Recently, Senator Cortez Masto and I introduced the Streamlining Permitting to Enable Efficient Deployment of Broadband Infrastructure Act, the SPEED Act, and it deals with the permitting process for deployment of broadband. This will help accelerate deployment in rural America in such areas as 5G. As you know, Congress and the President are working on infrastructure, and we'd like to deal with that as soon as we get through with the tax package as our next big issue. What are your thoughts on how Congress can ensure that satellite providers can be included in any broadband infrastructure proposal?
Thank you, Senator Wicker, for your question. We are very anxious to participate in delivering broadband more to rural America. The thing that we would find the most useful would be to have a technology-neutral policy, which would allow whatever infrastructure investment is made to deliver the greatest amount of broadband service to the greatest number of people with the best service at the lowest prices. That would be our suggestion for getting the most value out of investment that we make.
Well, okay. Technology neutral in terms of where we put the investment. Should this be done at the FCC level or according to statute?
One of the opportunities and the CAF program, the Connect American Fund program, has been mentioned already. The Connect America Fund program has a concept of a reverse auction where different providers using different technologies could make bids to say, how much would it cost to deliver this broadband to this area with these features? And there are different technology attributes that the FCC has looked at. One of the dominant ones is speed. Another one is bandwidth. Third one is latency. Fourth one is price. What we see in the market, and our experience in the in-flight connectivity business is a good example of this, is that the things that really dominate users' perception of the quality of broadband is the speed of service that they get and the amount of bandwidth that they get. That is, not having to have usage caps that would limit the amount of bandwidth that they use. And the next one would be, it's tied to both of those, would be price. So our recommendation would be to use something like a reverse auction process, but to use market-based factors that would reflect the desires of subscribers for getting the best service that they can, and that would also allow the government to achieve the greatest penetration of subscribers that is possible, given that amount of money.
Are we going to need to amend the statute on that, or does the agency already have this?
So far, our perception is that the FCC has not weighted it in a market-reflective way, that the weighting that they've put on latency is so high that a satellite service, I'm going to give you an example, a satellite service that would deliver 100 or 200 megabits per second at a given price and to more people would be penalized so severely that a lower latency service of even 10 or 25 megabits per second may be selected in the auction. We don't think that those weighting factors accurately reflect what subscribers really want in a broadband service.
Ms. Cooper, were you wishing to weigh in on that issue?
Yes, thank you, Senator. We agree that there's some review needed of any program that's looking at broadband, partly because you want every tool available to you as you try and reach every citizen in your state. For the Connect America Fund, we've found, for us, the latency issue is not our chief concern because we believe our low Earth system will have latencies in 25 to 35 milliseconds. But we've found an area where satellites have simply been precluded from bidding because the last generation of satellites didn't meet some of those speed and latency requirements. So instead of a wholesale exclusion of an entire category of technology, we would just recommend that the committee look at any of the programs or federal incentive or infrastructure programs to ensure that anything that qualifies, any technology that meets those requirements can bid. I would just say that satellites are sort of structured differently in that the incentive is not to build the infrastructure. All the companies here are investing and building in the connectivity. The infrastructure on the ground, whether it's to an end location, a terminal for the consumer, or potentially some gateways to manage traffic, is where that sort of scale is going to come in. And we may end up coming back to you with some recommendations to make sure those elements can be captured as well. But none of us here, certainly not SpaceX, are counting on that investment in our space constellation to come to fruition.
Thank you. Ms. Cortez Masto, it appears you are next.